Monaco has been described as the world's most dazzling square, a city where the rich don't just visit, they orbit. It's a place where yachts line the coast like floating palaces, where champagne costs more than rent in most countries, and where Ferraris are as common as bicycles. On the surface, Monaco feels like a dream made real, a postcard brought to life in sunlight and sea spray. But behind the perfection lies a very different story, one that few cameras show. Because for every glimmering yacht, every diamond bracelet, and every glass of Dom Perignon, there are invisible costs, human routines, and unspoken pressures that hold this illusion together. Today, we're diving into the reality behind billionaire lifestyles in Monaco, the hidden numbers, the people who make it all run, and the truth about what it really takes to live in Europe's most glamorous microstate. Port Hercule, the beating heart of the principality, is where the story begins. From above, the harbor looks like an art installation, every vessel perfectly aligned, each one worth tens or even hundreds of millions. It's here that the world's elite come to play, arriving in convoys of Bentleys and Rolls-Royces, their cars reflecting the shimmer of the sea as they glide toward private terraces. To the casual observer, Monaco appears to exist without limits. There are no signs of struggle, no corners of decay, only a seamless loop of wealth and beauty. The air itself feels curated, but look closer and you'll start to notice how carefully choreographed this all is. Every light that glows along the waterfront is powered by a staggering bill. Every polished marble step outside the Hôtel de Paris requires teams of workers who arrive before dawn and leave long after midnight. Even the scent of fresh flowers in the hotel lobby is part of an operation that costs millions each year. The average visitor spends just a few days here, usually wandering from the Monte Carlo casino to the designer boutiques near the Carré d'Or. It's easy to assume that those who live here simply wake up to effortless beauty and endless leisure. Yet Monaco's reality is not defined just by money, but by the constant need to maintain an image. The ultra-wealthy residents who call this place home live in a perpetual city of display and discretion. Every event, from the Grand Prix to the yacht show, is both a spectacle and a silent competition. The true currency of Monaco isn't euros, it's visibility. But that visibility has a cost that only a handful can afford. Let's start with the yachts. A single berth in Port Hercule can cost upwards of 1 million euros a year, depending on size and location. Maintaining a 100-foot yacht easily runs another 10 million annually between crew salaries, docking fees, and maintenance. Many of these vessels never leave the harbor for more than a few weeks. They serve more as floating mansions, a statement of arrival rather than a mode of escape. A single refueling session can cost hundreds of thousands. Onboard chefs, stewards, and captains form part of a miniature ecosystem where luxury meets logistics. Behind every dinner party on a deck is a full kitchen operation, a series of tight schedules, and long lists of expenses that rival those of small corporations. Step off the marina and into the city, and you'll encounter another layer of extravagance: the supercars. Each morning, the narrow streets echo with the sounds of Lamborghinis, Bugattis, and McLarens, engines purring like mechanical symphonies. For tourists, it's a spectacle. For locals, it's just background noise. But owning a car in Monaco isn't as effortless as it appears. Parking spaces here can cost upwards of €500,000 to buy, and insurance premiums climb into the tens of thousands annually. Mechanics trained to service these vehicles are among the best in the world, yet their schedules are booked months in advance. Even a flat tire or minor repair can come with a 5-figure invoice. For billionaires, these details fade into the background. But for anyone else, they're a reminder that Monaco's beauty is built on precision, and precision is expensive. Still, the city's perfection comes at more than just a financial price. Residents describe life here as both thrilling and suffocating. The tax advantages are legendary: no income tax, minimal corporate levies, and strict financial privacy laws. But those same benefits have turned the principality into an enclave of constant comparison. Image matters more than anything. A slightly older yacht or smaller suite can feel like a social setback. Even among billionaires, there's a hierarchy that dictates where you dock, dine, and socialize. Beneath the smiles at charity galas and film festivals lies an undercurrent of quiet competition. Many residents privately admit that keeping up with Monaco's standard of living can feel like running a race that never ends. Yet, for the people who make Monaco run, the crew members, chefs, florists, chauffeurs, and cleaners, the city's wealth offers a very different perspective. Most of them live across the border in France or Italy, commuting daily because the cost of living with Monaco's walls is impossibly high. Even small apartments rent for tens of thousands per month. Local workers describe long hours and high expectations, though the pay is far better than average elsewhere in Europe. For them, Monaco is both opportunity and illusion, a place where they can glimpse a world they'll never quite enter. When the yachts shut off their lights and the restaurants close their doors, these workers disappear back across the border, leaving behind a city that feels almost staged in its silence. There's also the environmental price of maintaining so much luxury in such a small space. The energy required to power superyachts, high-rise penthouses, and air-conditioned garages is immense. Monaco has made strong public commitments to sustainability, but the sheer density of wealth complicates those goals. Hybrid yachts and electric hypercars may reduce emissions, yet they still represent an economy built on abundance. For every eco-friendly initiative, there's another champagne-soaked event celebrating excess. It's a delicate contradiction, one the city embraces with a kind of polished denial. Despite all this, Monaco's allure remains irresistible. The Grand Prix continues to draw the global elite each spring, transforming the streets into a living racetrack where speed, money, and spectacle collide. The yacht show in September brings in vessels so large they barely fit the marina. During these events, the population triples overnight. Helicopters buzz overhead, dropping off guests from Nice or Milan. Champagne corks echo across balconies. The streets pulse with photographers, fans, and financiers. For a brief moment, Monaco becomes the center of the world, a diamond catching the sun just right. But when the crowd fades and the noise quiets, a different rhythm emerges. Locals stroll along the promenade. Elderly residents gather at small cafes that never make it to Instagram. The same streets that hosted supercars now carry delivery vans and scooters. In this quieter version of Monaco, life feels almost normal. It's this duality, spectacle, and simplicity that defines the principality's real character. The billionaires here aren't just chasing luxury, they're also chasing control, stability, and safety. Monaco offers all three in abundance, which is why so many choose to stay despite its pressures. Real estate is perhaps the clearest window into this world. The average price per square meter in Monaco has surpassed 6,000 euros, making it the most expensive property market on earth. New developments like Tour Odeon or the sea extension project known as Portier Cove redefine what urban luxury can look like, complete with private pools, concierge services, and panoramic views of the Riviera. But even these spaces come with their own kind of isolation. The more exclusive the address, the more distant life becomes from the streets below. Many of these apartments remain empty for months at a time, owned by investors who treat them as safe deposits rather than homes. The lights glitter at night, but many windows hide silence. The irony is that Monaco's wealth has turned it into both a dream and a paradox. It's a city that depends on display but thrives on privacy, a place that invites admiration while resisting intimacy. The billionaires who build their lives here are not immune to the pressures of keeping up appearances. The very thing that draws them, the perfection, the prestige, the promise of escape, becomes a kind of invisible prison. Yet for those who visit, Monaco will always be irresistible. It represents the fantasy of life without limits, even if that fantasy costs more than most could imagine. In the end, the reality behind billionaire lifestyles in Monaco is both inspiring and sobering. Yes, the yachts gleam under the Riviera sun, the cars roar with impossible precision, and the restaurants sparkle with Michelin stars. But beneath that surface lies a complex network of labor, logistics, and expectations. The city may be spotless, but it is not simple. It's built on thousands of moving parts, engines, people, and paychecks, all working in harmony to maintain the illusion that paradise is effortless. And the truth, once you've seen it, is that even perfection has a price. Monaco will always capture the imagination. It's small enough to feel personal, yet grand enough to symbolize global wealth. It's the last of Europe's old world luxuries, polished for the age of social media, where a single photo can convince millions that this is what happiness looks like. But perhaps the real lesson is that luxury, no matter how bright, always casts a shadow. The next time you see a super yacht gliding across the bay or a Bugatti idling beside the casino, remember the unseen world beneath, the crew below deck, the workers crossing the border at dawn, and the owners who pay endlessly to preserve a dream that can never truly rest. If you had the wealth to live here, would you really want to? Would you trade simplicity for spectacle, privacy for prestige, and calm for constant comparison? Because in Monaco, the view is priceless, but the price of the view is something few can afford to pay forever. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the reality behind Monaco's billionaire lifestyle, hit subscribe and stay tuned for our next episode where we explore the psychology of wealth, why luxury never feels like enough. Leave a comment with the moment that surprised you most and tell us, would you live in Monaco if money were no object? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.